On this edition of AIRWaves, engineers use additive manufacturing to print face shields for the local community as part of the COVID-19 response effort. Plus, it's a team effort to tackle naval aviation's #1 safety issue, see what's being done to prevent physiological events, and keep aviators safe in flight. And NASA and TPS team up finding a stellar solution to keep students flying during the pandemic. Welcome to this Year in Review edition of AIRWaves. I'm Michael Lauren Prue. COVID-19 brought about unprecedented challenges in 2020, yet our workforce continued to maintain readiness and support the mission. USS Ford logged more than 4,000 aircraft launches and recoveries as of September, showcasing the capabilities of the ship's electromagnetic aircraft launch system and advanced arresting gear. Ford's EMALS and AAG systems are now more than halfway through the carrier's 18-month test and evaluation period. The Navair ALRE team continues to work with the Ford's crew and says they're on track to complete all assessments and milestones in preparation for CVN 78 to formally enter the fleet. In the fight against COVID-19, we leverage some of our unique capabilities to provide much-needed personal protection equipment to the fleet and our local communities. For example, our NOC-AD Innovation Hub and Navair's additive manufacturing team use 3D printing to produce facial shields and protective equipment for the fleet. We also shipped medical facial shields to first responders. Team members who volunteered for the effort were happy to help the community.
Day in, day out, we're serving the warfighter. But this back home, this is kind of an attack on our own house, right? Loved ones are affected, parents, grandparents, friends, family. So this is a way that I wanted to help.
These efforts are being replicated across all Navair sites to assist in COVID-19 local response. You can learn more about the command's response to COVID-19 by visiting our website at www.navair.navy.mil/coronavirus. Despite the impacts of COVID-19, our fleet readiness centers continue to produce, delivering aircraft, engines, components, and support equipment to the fleet. The FRC's exceeded production goals in every major commodity, even with a reduced workforce. FRC's delivered more than 500 airframes and nearly 49,000 total components to keep our fleet flying. FRC East is now a verified source of repair and testing for 14 F-35 components. As the lead site for depot-level maintenance on the 5th-generation fighter, it has conducted modifications and repair on the Marine Corps short takeoff vertical landing variant of the aircraft since 2013, and worked with the F-35A and F-35C variants. The new F-35 component work provides FRC East with a scheduled workload through 2024 and will expand as new capabilities are established. FRC East hopes to declare capability on more than 100 components in the future. In 2020, naval aviation saw a substantial decrease to its #1 safety priority, physiological episodes. A physiological episode, or PE, is when a pilot experiences loss in performance related to insufficient oxygen, depressurization, or other factors during flight. When related to an aircraft malfunction, it's called a physiological event. In 2017, physiological events peaked sharply. That's when the Navy stood up the Physiological Event Action Team, bringing together experts in medicine, science, and engineering to get after the problem and prevent PEs from happening.
High performance, high altitude flight is not something we necessarily do every day, and it's very different than just us walking around or sitting at a desk. So the value of that PE Roadshow is being able to explain what those differences are, what the gotchas are, and ultimately restore confidence back to the airframe.
While there's no one cause of PEs, early mitigation efforts have resulted in a 96% decrease in the PE rate in the T-45 fleet and a 74% reduction in the PE rate for the F-18 fleet since 2017. The CH-53K King Stallion got its feet wet, successfully completing a 2-week period of sea trials in the Atlantic. Testing took place on USS Wasp, a landing helicopter dock amphibious assault ship operated by the U.S. Navy. Testing included launch and recovery rotor start and shutdown, blade fold, and shipboard compatibility testing, all in increasing wind speed and varying wind directions relative to the aircraft. The King Stallion is nearing the completion of developmental tests and is set to enter initial operational test and evaluation later in 2021. The Navy completed its first operational flight test of the Block 5 Tomahawk missile, paving the way for fleet delivery later this year. During the test, the USS Chaffee successfully launched 2 Block 5 missiles and 1 Block 4 missile from the Point Mugu Sea Test Range and impacted targets as planned. The objective of the testing was to support initial fleet release of the Block 5 Tomahawk's navigation and communications upgrade, as well as upgrades to the Theater Mission Planning Center and Tactical Tomahawk Weapons Control System. This latest variant of the Tomahawk will enhance the readiness and lethality of the fleet. New year, new helicopter. The first Navy CMV-22B Osprey arrived at Patuxent River in February for developmental testing, a critical step in readying the aircraft for the fleet. The integrated test team from HX-21, NOC AD, Boeing, and Bell will conduct developmental tests over the next year. The aircraft will be used to transport personnel, mail, supplies, and high-priority cargo from shore bases to aircraft carriers at sea. It is scheduled to achieve initial operational capability in 2021. This fall, NOC AD teams from the Modeling and Simulation Lab showed off a tool that'll keep V-22 crews safe when they perform landings at sea. The Dynamic Interface Virtual Environment, or DIVE for short, uses augmented reality in the simulator to simulate actual landings. The pilot follows instructions from a crew member who watches a virtual display in a specialized headset. The virtual reality provides another point of view for the user to see what the pilot is doing. The initial test bed includes the V-22, and engineers expect to expand to other aircraft soon. All of this improves safety while cutting training cost. The Navy's Next Generation Jammer Midband Pod successfully completed its first flight with an EA-18G Growler at Naval Air Station Patuxent River last summer, and is well into the developmental flight test phase. NGJ-MB is an external jamming pod designed to disrupt, deny, and degrade enemy air defense and ground communication systems. The pod is part of a larger next-generation jammer system set to replace the legacy ALQ-99 tactical jamming system currently used on the aircraft. The Naval Aviation and Maritime Patrol and Reconnaissance Force marked a number of milestones in 2020. Patrol Squadron 40 completed a Safe for Flight evaluation in May for acceptance of their first P-8A Poseidon, marking a successful transition from its predecessor, the P-3C Orion. In the same week, the 100th U.S. Navy P-8A flew into service. This is the 94th addition to the fleet's inventory of mission-capable aircraft, with 6 additional jets serving in developmental, operational test, and evaluation roles. NOC AD and Boeing crews took part in a ski jump at Patuxent River Naval Air Station, one that didn't need any snow, just an FA-18 Super Hornet. Crews completed a series of successful takeoffs from the ski jump in August. The Indian Navy has expressed interest in potentially purchasing the Super Hornets, and the test events were done to make sure the jets could launch from the short takeoff but arrested recovery systems found on the Indian aircraft carriers. For 20 years, the Navair Commanders Awards has recognized teams and individuals across the organization for their innovation and commitment to the warfighter, and this year was no different. Family, friends, and coworkers gathered at Naval Air Station Patuxent River in March to celebrate the winners. Finalists were selected from 71 teams and individuals from across the command. Navair Commander Vice Admiral Dean Peters stressed the importance of the mission-aligned organization and how it is improving speed and readiness and empowering the workforce to get work done.
I was really blown away, by the great work that's going on here at Navair. It is tremendous. The mission alignment piece of it helps focus our attention on what's really the most important, and that's what the Commanders Awards recognize.
You can read more about all of the award winners by visiting the Navair website at www.navair.navy.mil. Looking for a great professional development opportunity? Then check out the newest addition to Navair's Leader Development Continuum. Navair's Foundational Leadership Development Program supports Navair's commitment to developing leaders at all levels of the organization. It is open to all Navair employees, especially for those who have been a part of the Navair workforce for fewer than 5 years. If you would like to participate, check out Navair University for more information. The new year brings a new look for the Navy's premier flight demonstration squadron. The Blue Angels started flying FA-18EF Super Hornet fighter jets, replacing the legacy FA-18 aircraft they've flown for more than 3 decades. That's all thanks in part to the Blue Angel transition team at PMA 265. Test teams at NAS Patuxent River have worked since 2015 to get the Super Hornets air show ready and deliver the first aircraft in July. With the Super Hornet's larger size, more powerful engines, and greater fuel capacity, it promises to delight fans with even more exciting maneuvers that show off the aircraft's unique capabilities. The Blue Angels will kick off their 2021 air show season at NAS Jacksonville, Florida in April. The United States Naval Test Pilot School found an out-of-this-world solution to train pilots during the pandemic, teaming up with NASA to complete required flight hours. TPS students are required to receive formal flight training in a T-38C aircraft prior to their arrival. Normally, students would travel to Randolph Air Force Base in Texas to get these critical flight hours, but this year, COVID restrictions put a stop to it. So TPS turned to NASA for help. 5 test pilots under instruction were able to train at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, in the NASA T-38N simulator, an effective alternative providing the students with critical T-38 transition training. And speaking of NASA, 3 recent USN TPS graduates were selected as NASA Artemis program astronauts. They were among the first group of NASA astronauts since the announcement of the Artemis program, and may be assigned to missions destined for the International Space Station, the Moon, and ultimately Mars. You can check out the full story in the 2020 summer edition of the Naval Aviation News magazine. As we close out this year-end edition of AIRWaves, we want to thank each of you for your continued dedication to the mission. The challenges of COVID-19 are real, but they're not stopping us. Please stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you on the flight line.